This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I am joined today all the way from Saint-Brie, up in the kind of northeast of France, by winemaker Sylvain Martinand from Le Cave, Bailly Lapierre. How are you today, sir?
Yeah, not too bad. Thank you. And you?
Absolutely fantastic. It's early in the morning when I do these things with many winemakers in Europe. So 10 in the morning with a little glass of sparkling, it's never a bad way to start the day. My wife would argue in the other direction, but I always quite enjoy it. So today we're going to be tasting a wine, this one right here from Le Cave Bailly Lapierre. Tell me a little bit about the history of this cooperative.
Yeah, so this cooperative was created in 1972, so it's quite our anniversary this year.
Yeah.
And it was cooperation between wine growers who were making wine to make sparkling in Germany, in fact. And at that time, the German people, they closed the border for the wine, not for the people. And they tried to find a place to stock the wine, and after that, what to do with all these wines. And they started the cooperative in a former career of stone extraction and of 5 hectares. And it is where we are making the vinification now and all the process of sparkling. And 50 years later, we are making 3 million bottles of Cre mant de Bourgogne, that is sparkling from Burgundy, and some other still wines from the area of Saint-Brie with Chardonnay, Aligoté, or Sauvignon, where that's the only place in Burgundy when you can grow Sauvignon and get the name of Burgundian wine.
How much of your production, what percentage of your production is sparkling?
It's more than half of the production, in fact. And sparkling wine, it's taking more time to do the wine because you have to harvest by hand and you have to do the second fermentation in bottle. So you need a lot of place to store the wine all the time, where the prise de mousse and the aging is taking time. So as we have something like 8 million bottles under the ground, in fact, we need room. That's why the 5 hectares, it's not too big for us.
But these are the rules of the AOP, right?
Yeah. Basically, in sparkling, there is 2 things that matters. How do you pick and how do you get the gas? For the Cre mant Bourgogne, it's a traditional method. So you have to harvest by hand. And by harvesting by hand, you are able to select your juice when you are pressing them, and you are making in the press only the grapes and nothing else. And this is the first part. It's quite a job, but it's because of that you can have a really high quality. After that, how do you get the gas? Basically, you can just add carbon dioxide, or you have some other method, and we are using the traditional method. That means when the wines are over with the vinification, we are making the blends, and after that, we are putting the wine in bottle for the second fermentation. And the wine will stay in bottle at least for 12 months. And right now, we have wine from 2010, so it could be much more longer. And during that time, there is 2 amazing things who are arriving in the bottle. First, you are the bubbles who are created with the second fermentation. And you are also, after this fermentation, all the exchange between the dead yeast and the wine. And that is, it will be feeding the wine during years and years or months and months. And that change the taste of the wine. And most of the time, it will be the body of the wine who will be changed, in fact.
Now, theoretically, these wines are non-vintage wines. The wine that we have in the market right now is just showing the bottle.
Yeah.
What is the majority of this particular vintage that we have right now?
This one should be 2019, I think. We've decided not to put the vintage on all the bottle 10 years ago, But basically, we are not using what could be called reserve wine when we are making the blend. It's really unusual for us. Most of the time, in any label, it is a vintage of 1 year. But we decided to put the vintage only on the level label. But this reserve is 2019, in fact. And there is some things hard to believe when you are in Canada. The last 5 years, basically 19, 20, 21, altogether, we got only almost one crop because of frost in 2021, yes. Sun dried in 19, sun dried in 20. And we are running a bit more quickly than as usual the wine. Normally, the average time on lease for every bottle would be 18 months, more or less. And because of this really small year crop, we have to go a bit faster. But hopefully for us, 2022, we have quite a good harvest. We got quantity and quality. And because when you got quality without the quantity, it's nice to speak about it, but it's better to drink it sometimes. So we need the quality and the quantity to have a good wine and be able to retail everywhere, and specifically in Toronto, for example.
I understand. Now we're speaking about the Brut Reserve here. What do those words mean on the label when it comes to Bailly Lapierre?
Alors, the Reserve, it's a blend of all the grapes you can have, almost of the grapes you can have in the Cre mant Bourgogne. And that means Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Aligoté, and Gamay. And on this, you have a blend of Cuvée and Thai. When you price, I told you you have all the grapes and you can select your juice. And basically, the first 75% we call that Cuvée, and the last 25% we call that Thai. And the balance, the chemical balance between acidity, sugar, and tannins, if you have some, won't be the same. And for the Reserve, we blend both of them in different quantities. And at the end, you have the wine you get in there. It's, I call that the socle. I don't know the name in English, but it's the base of our wine, in fact. And it's something really consensual, if we can say that. Sometimes I will say the French word with an English accent, because I forgot the name. And it's a really nice wine and easy drink wine. You can have for the appetizer, for any specific reception or stuff like that. But it's not too acid or too something. It's a wine that everybody will like. You can prefer some other identity of Bailly Lapierre, but everybody who like or appreciate sparkling, specifically Cre mant Bourgogne, will appreciate the Reserve.
It's interesting, you know, having tasted a number of Crémant over the years from various parts of France, whether it be Cre mant d'Alsace, Cre mant de Loire, and Cre mant de Bourgogne. This one does have a very particular autolytic yeasty character to it, for sure. Would that be a fair enough observation there, Sylvain?
Yeah, and what we try to have, because it's easy to speak about wine, but having what you think in your mind in the bottle, sometimes it's not the same. But with the Reserve, we want to keep the fruitness of the youth of the wine, in fact. And after that, after the disgorgement, what is the disgorgement? Basically, it's when you do the second fermentation in bottle, all the lees will stay in the bottle until you remove them. And you will remove them by making a nice, taking the deposit in the ice and expose it and explode that from the bottle. And after that, you re-add the wine and some quantity of sugar, and you add the definite core. And at that time, normally, all our Crémant are with a taste of flower or fruit. And with time after the disgorgement, it's going to some other taste. It's aging because it's a wine. Sometimes people, they are saying, okay, still wines are wine, or sparkling, it's not wine, but it's wine with bubbles, in fact, and it's aging in bottle. The same you can have with white or red. And the autolytic taste, you can have it because it's staying a long time on lees, or because it's part of the wedding after the disgorgement between the liqueur and the wine, in fact.
You joined the organization some 13 years ago, having never made sparkling wine before. That must have been quite a steep learning curve for you, no?
I was making wine, so all the first parts I was used with them.
Right.
And after that, it's not to be used in making sparkling or still. First, it's to be used with the culture, with the know-how of where you are arriving, in fact. And my fear at the beginning was that people would say it's no more Bailly Lapierre wine. Because I don't know if because of the place, because of the experience, or because of the people, but we have a really strong identity with our sparkling. And when you arrive somewhere, in a place after 35 years, where people are making wine, you can taste them. They have been sold everywhere in the world. It's not the thing of if you know or not to know the wine. It's first to learn to know how it is made where you are arriving, in fact. So it was not a big deal not having making sparkling before. The deal was just to be quiet and listen. And the more I am aging, it's hard to do for me. But at that time, I was quite good and quiet and listen the people to explain to me what to do and how they were making that before. And since I'm here, the wine have been changed because sometimes I decide some stuff of how I want to do the wine, and I put my hand on the wine for sure, but it is still the spirit and the identity of Bailly Lapierre, and that's the more important. And I hope when I will be leaving the company, the next girl or guy who will be arriving in here will start first by learning how to keep the identity before to put their hand on the wine.
I hear you. I hear you. Now, as the winemaker, how would you describe this particular glass of wine?
So it's late in the afternoon for me in France. So the wine you get in your glass specifically, I won't say nothing about it. But a Reserve, it's a wine, any sparkling we are making, whatever the dosage is. And in dosage, it's a quantity of sugar that stay in the wine after the disgorgement, and it's going to 0 to 50 grams per liter of sugar. And all the wines we are retailing, all the Crémant from the range of Bailly, you have the intensity in the nose. After that, you have the bubbles, but not only bubbles. It is wine, so you need to get balance. You need to get to have a deepness of your wine and something that will stay, but keep your palate quite clean when you have drink or spit your wine. And that's really important because we are not making wine to speak about in the morning in Toronto in front of a computer. We are making wine to be drunk, not drunk as us, but to be drunk with some people in a good occasion and to make a good part of a life moment, in fact. And if you are making wine too bodybuilding, too strong, too heavy, and each time you get the wine in your mouth, you are tired, you won't drink our wines for a long time. So all of our wine in the range, we try to be sure that you will have a nice mouth and you can still be speaking with some people, still be eating, and won't be tired by drinking our wine. So I haven't speak about aromas or stuff like that, because for me aromas, it's everybody will have his own palette of aromas, and sometimes you speak about two things and it is the same, but it's just the way you feel them.
Yes.
But for sure, the spirit of the identity we are retaining is that we have a lot of different sparkling, at least in France, in Toronto, you don't have all the range. And you have some made with Pinot Noir, some made with Chardonnay, some blend, some others with a low dosage or more demi-sec. But all of them need to be really fresh, really clean. And normally you don't have some oxidized taste before age of 4 or 5 years after the disgorgement. And you have always to remember, we are making the sparkling wine from Burgundy. And Burgundy is quite famous all over the world for the wine, normally for the still wine, but there is no reason to be the best in the world. It is a French way to say that it's not too bad, the Burgundian wine.
Yeah.
Maybe not the best in the world, but for sure a really nice and drinkable wine, white or red. And why it will be good for still and not real for sparkling. So when you have the sparkling Cre mant de Bourgogne, you will have the same characteristic in a sparkling than you have in the wine from Burgundy. So most of the Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, it's really thin, it's really high to in balanced, and it's really easy to drink. Sometimes it's really expensive, but we're in the part of Burgundy
most
where
of the
it
time,
is quite affordable right now.
Okay.
So, but it's the same spirit. So that's how I will, if I have to speak of the wine, I will say that in fact. It's a sparkling from Burgundy, and we have all the, we get the chance to profit, I don't know, to benefit, sorry, of
Yes, no,
everything that could benefit the still wines from Burgundy, in fact.
So I can tell that you're not one of those winemakers that they keep in the cellar. I can tell by the way that you present that you're used to presenting your wines, right?
Sometimes. It's a small company, so we don't have 200 people with everybody specialized in one thing. And we decided that Bailly Lapierre that the one who is in a base place to speak about the wine, it's normally the one who is making the wine.
The reason I'm asking that is one question I always like to ask winemakers who live with their wine, not just in the cellar, but out with the cellar as well. Where would you see this at the dinner table, and where have you seen this at the dinner table over your 13 years with Bailly Lapierre?
With almost everything. The only appearance that is quite hard with the sparkling will be with the red meat, in fact, because I haven't found at that time a good pairing with any red meat. But if you put that aside, with almost everything, you will have a sparkling that will be paired. After that, if you dislike the bubbles when you are eating, I will never try to convince you that it's better because it's your taste. But with all the range of different grapes, different times on lees, different dosage, you will always have at least one sparkling of Cre mant de Bourgogne from Bailly Lapierre that will pair with what you have on the table, in fact. And people, they are used to drink in weddings or things like that, so it's really nice. But it's also working quite well at the beginning of dinner or lunch. We have some rosé made with Pinot Noir and Gamay, and with 2 or 3 different dosage. And you have a freshness of the fruit that is incredible. And during summer, just by drinking to refresh yourself, or at the beginning of the lunch, or even with chocolate things on dessert, it will be really nice, in fact.
Now, just because I'm a bit of a pedant when it comes to wine and I like detail, you mentioned that you can use every single variety, grape variety, that is allowed within the AOP.
Yeah.
What are the average percentages of those grapes within this particular wine?
In the Reserve, you will have something around 15-20% of Gamay.
Oh.
And after that, you will have half and half between Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. In the AOC Cre mant Bourgogne, the main grapes are Chardonnay and Aligoté, so it's mainly white. And the specificity of Bailly Lapierre is that 70% of the grapes we are processing are Pinot Noir. But in the reserve, we decrease a bit the proportion of Pinot Noir, but we are really the specialist, it's not a good term, but of Pinot Noir in the Cre mant Bourgogne. Most of my friends who are making really good sparkling in some other companies, they are dealing more with Chardonnay, Gamay, and Aligoté, in fact.
Now, Sylvain, you're based in Saint-Brie. Saint-Brie is kind of a bit of an anomaly, well, complete anomaly when it comes to Bourgogne. We also have your Sauvignon Blanc in the market. Yeah. Would you mind speaking about that a little?
Yeah, for sure. To be honest, you mentioned that when I arrived, I have no experience with the sparkling.
Yeah.
And it was quite easy to do wine without this experience. But to make a Sauvignon wine, it's another deal because the Sauvignon is a grapes, but is never giving the same things every year. And if you are not able to adapt, not every hours during the vinification, but day by days of the way you are going with your wine and with your must, you can have a really strong, good or not too good surprise. And it took me maybe 5 years to understand the Sauvignon. And this is close now, Sauvignon Saint-Brie. Same thing than for Cre mant Bourgogne. We are located also quite close from Sancerre or Pouilly, for example, who are famous in France for Sauvignon. But we are making the only Sauvignon from Burgundy with all the specificity of Burgundy. That means, for me, the nose from Sancerre or Pouilly, they are bright. It's something that is shining in your glass when you open it and when you pour your glass. After, in the mouth, it could be more or less with a lot of body or balance and longueur. And I think we are a bit more modest with the aromas. That doesn't mean there is nothing, because for me, you need fruits, you need something with complexity when it is young, but it's not that high in exuberance. I don't know the name of in English, but something really high, in fact.
Exuberance is the word.
And it's a bit lower than that.
Yeah.
But for me, the mouth is more complex. And people, when they try and when they taste the Saint-Brie, specifically the one from Bailly Lapierre, but we are not the only one in the world who are making Saint-Brie, they're surprised because it's not a New Zealand Sauvignon style, it's not a Bordeaux style, and it's not a Sancerre style. I already try to get on my feet when I start to explain something, but even if it's Sauvignon, it is a Burgundy one. So you always have the same characteristics, of the one from Burgundy, and specifically the one from north of Burgundy, because we have a bit less sun than some other places in the Saône-et-Loire, for example, and the balance of the wine, the complexity, for me, it's a really nice place to have that.
Tell me a little bit about the cooperative. How many growers you work with?
Yeah, we are working with 80 cooperators, so wine growers, in fact. And you need to remember that all the cooperatives born on a crisis. At Bailly, it was a crisis of some wine that were made to be sold to German people, and as they don't buy it, they got some grapes, they got some vine, they got some wine, and nothing to deal with it. So they need to get together to be stronger, to be able to buy the career where we are now, to buy some tanks and to start to think together of how to deal with that and where to go together. When everything is going well, nobody wants to be in a cooperative,
Right.
because everybody is thinking that his company, his winery, his cellar, it's the best in the world, and as it is working really well, you don't care at all of the others. But all the cooperatives in France and most of the time in the world, they have been created when it was a major crisis. For example, in the still wine, most of the time they have been born in the 2030s, and it was during the crisis of 1929. And that's why they are 100 years old when we are just 50, because we don't have any crisis before the 70s for us. After that, sometimes some cooperatives could have been in a easy way to make average wine or bad wines. And at that time, many people were drinking wine like they were drinking water when you were working or things like that. And you were always able to find the customers. But when you are in Burgundy and when you are in the right now in 22, these people, these consumers, they are no more here. And if you want to survive, if you want to grow, there is no way. If you don't have the quality in the wine, I can explain to you how the background is wonderful, how to be in the career with all the story of the extraction of the stones and things like that. It's just bullshit if your wine is not a high quality wine. So when the former president of the cooperatives in 72, he has pronounced a speech in front of all the people who were creating the company. And he said, literally, if you want to survive, we need to go to the next or the new appellation that is created right now, that will be called Cre mant Bourgogne, because Cre mant Bourgogne is born in 75. And by going in that appellation, you will have to work harder, because you will have to harvest by hand. You will have more complexity in the things you are able to do. But that's the only way for you to make some money with your wine and to survive. That means when the Bailly Lapierre have been created, the words from the president on the first day was already to say, you need quality, you need complexity, you need harvest by hand. That means Cre mant Bourgogne to be able to survive. If you want to do easy things, you won't be survived. And we've lost and we forgot that words. And as we have worked on the anniversary with historian people, they find the speech with the, at that time it was with a pencil, but hopefully a pencil, sometimes it's easier to keep the stuff and to find them. And when we have read that, we were just amazed by everything was here at the beginning. In fact, there is not a break in 10 years, 20 years ago, who said we were making crap wine and now we are going on the quality. At the beginning, and in the DNA of the founders, it was that words, if you want to survive, you need to get with complexity to do wine, to do quality wine, and to get some money.
Superb. Well, Sylvain, thank you very much for joining us at Good Food Revolution today.
You're welcome.
Have yourself a wonderful Christmas with your family.
You too.
And the next time you're over in Canada, perhaps we can share a glass of wine together.
I will try, for sure. It will be my pleasure.
Thank you very much. Bye for now.
You're welcome.